Hello, and welcome to my Take It to Lake. I've been doing some paper dyeing this week, and I have a video with colored paper that I did, some eco dyeing or natural dye using cabbage and avocados and food coloring and whatnot. Just had fun. Watch that video. I'll try to remember to link it in the description below. But I ended up with a beautiful rainbow stack of papers and cards. And when I went to my coffee dyed stash to add brown to that rainbow, I realized I was low. So last night I had a coffee dyeing fit, and I spent hours doing coffee dye. And I wanted to share some specifics with you. I have some photos that I'll include on how much I ended up with and stacks and stacks of different things. But I wanted to show you some specifics and suggest that when you... Hi, Ridley. It's one of my 4 Bostons. He wants to come play too. When you do your coffee dyeing, I encourage you to, since you have all the stuff out and you have the oven going anyway, and you're going to be making this time and mess anyway, do a variety of different things. And these are some of the things. I just went around my little studio and picked out every kind of paper that I had. So I have graph index cards, larger index cards, plain ones. Look how cool. I love this. And by the way, my coffee dye method is completely random. And I've tried different things. Hi, Ridley. Sometimes I'm far more meticulous about it, or I'll try someone's method, but primarily, especially when I want to do a lot of stuff at once, I just put coffee in a jar with hot water, instant coffee in a jar with hot water. If I have some brewed coffee, I add that for good measure. I make it really strong, and then I just pour it in a bin. I'll show you some pictures. I do the same thing that I did with the colored paper that I do with the coffee. So pour it in the pan, and I use a half sheet cake pan so that it holds the bigger papers and quite a bit of liquid. Thank you. Thank you. So all I do is pour, flip, stack, pour, repeat, like lasagna, sort of. And when there's a lot of liquid in my pan, I pour it back into the jar, and I just keep doing it. I usually have 3 pans going, 3 racks in the oven, and then rotate so that I can get a lot done pretty quickly. And so I never know how it's going to end up because there's no set process. I never know how it's going to turn out. And to me, that's the fun of it. I don't know what it's going to do. And there's all kinds of crazy, cool, happy accidents that happen. And I'll show you some of those in a minute. But anyway, so I do index cards, whatever kind I have. I have plain ones. I have lined ones and graph ones of the regular size, and then I have the larger ones. These were just plain, and again, so awesome. I love kind of the watercolor effect. Some get darker than others, fine by me. And you see, see, it's all crinkled and whatnot. I'm not terribly gentle when I do this. I'm moving a lot of wet paper around kind of fast, and so sometimes it tears, sometimes it crinkles, and to me, again, that just adds texture and character to the pieces. I have a tiny little dictionary. None of these pages took much color at all, but We have that nice crinkle effect. I know, Wrigley. I know. I'm sorry. I'm busy. I have a little bit larger dictionary. This is a newer one. I didn't tear up my vintage dictionaries, but these are just cheapies from Big Lots or something I got for 10 cents at St. Vincent's. So I have no problem tearing those apart and vintaging those up. I had a novel told in poetry, and so all the book pages that when you're gutting these books and making your junk journals with just the covers, you have loads and loads of book pages. So grab them and throw some color on them, coffee dye them. This one is from, it's either, I should have looked this up, it's either 1958 or 1938. I want to say it's 38. A very old book on not very old, but pretty old book on English usage for businesses. And this was one of the first pages of it. And what I thought was so cool about this, and I'm not sure if it's going to show up on camera, but it's just the end, like one of the beginning blank pages. So there wasn't anything on it, but it ghosted. There's ghost text from the little dictionary page right here. I'm not sure where the rest came from. I'm not even, like I said, it's so faint. But is it ever cool? And it's on both sides somehow. You can see it through both sides. So again, you never know what's going to happen. This, it's crinkly and burnt because this edge was sticking out of the pan as it was cooking, and so it got a little crispy. That's why you want to stand guard. Never leave the kitchen when you're drying these things in the oven. But I quite like it. So I'm okay with that. I took apart, this is a little paperback novel that I use as a handy little, when I'm gluing little things, I use it as a background to glue stuff on. Glue pad. So there's tons of these little novel paperback. Another one of the poetry novel books. Again, got quite crispy, got quite dark. Lots of coffee going on there. Got crinkled. I think it just adds to the beauty. This one too picked up quite a bit of ghost imaging. Not sure if you can see that, but it's pretty cool. The text is on a diagonal, which is neat. And again, you can see it on both sides. Awesome. Don't be afraid to coffee dye or otherwise eco dye different kinds of book pages. This is a young adult, sort of a graphic novel. So there's a lot of images in and on the pages. And I think that's pretty awesome. Similarly, this obviously was all black, but the other side took. So what I'm probably going to do this is make a small little tuck-in notebook out of it using the black part as the cover because I think it's so awesome. Gotta do something cool with it. And then the inside is nicely distressed or vintagey. This is again that older book. I'm gonna say 1938, given her 40s style garb there. So 1938 book on English usage. Excuse me, I was mistaken. English for business use. And I dyed deli paper in this batch as well, and that's where this nice little zigzaggy edge comes from, because clearly the deli paper was on top of that. Pretty. This is just a book, just a random, probably Dollar Tree book that I had gutted. So I used quite a bit of the big pages. And then, of course, just plain Jane copy paper. And it's just so, every single piece is different. And you never know what you're going to get. And I think that's part of the beauty of it. I watched a video from a lady. I have no idea who it was. And she was coffee dyeing. And she was so meticulous. And one of the corners of her paper tore off. And she said, well, that's useless to me now. And she was going to put it in the scrap pile because literally a corner came off. Really? Okay. I am not that kind of coffee dyer, nor am I that kind of junk journaler. By the way, there's quite a spectrum of junk journaling that you can't help but notice, and I'd like to do a video soon on that, so watch for that, the junk journal spectrum. I think it's fascinating how everybody takes it on differently. More copy paper, plain Jane copy paper, but completely different than the one before it. And who knows if they were next to each other. I have no idea. And in this particular batch, I think I made up at least 3 pints of coffee. And each pan was different. I didn't measure. I just poured coffee in hot water, instant coffee in hot water. So I have some of it came out lighter, some of it came out darker. This is the How to Learn Cursive paper for little kids. You get this at Dollar Tree pretty readily. This almost has an avocado dye feel to it. For some reason, this paper picked up a lot of the pink apparently that's in coffee, or the coffee pulled the pink out of the paper, because I believe it had pink lines on it, and they're not there now. So that's probably what happened, is the coffee and the water made the pink disappear and then turned up dyeing the paper. But all this stack looks pink next to all the other stuff, which is kind of cool. Kind of a pseudo coffee dyed, or excuse me, avocado dyed bonus. I used regular graph paper. I found a ream of it at St. Vincent's the other day for I think 60 cents or something like that. It was pretty vintagey anyway. Thus it's holding its colors. I don't think that if you used graph paper that you buy at Walmart or someplace like that today, I don't think the lines would hold up. Even the older stuff, most of it fades. But there's still some of it showing through, and so who cares? This is brand new loose leaf paper that I bought, and you can tell it's brand new loose leaf paper because only the pink lines remain, and only the pink of the lines that started out blue, but the blue faded, and there's tiny little pink lines left. The older loose leaf inks will stay on when you coffee dye. Another bonus, when the coffee pulls that blue out of the graph paper and out of the lined paper, it mixes with the coffee and it mixes with the blue, and you get a lot of green. I'll show you this one. This one's got a lot of green in it because it pulled. What I had done is poured the coffee on graph paper, loose leaf paper, and this older notebook paper that had blue lines on it. Let it soak for a little second or two, and then dumped the coffee back into the jar. Well, that coffee was thick with this blue from pulling the ink from the other notebooks, and so a lot of the pages got these super green. So it's almost like an eco dye rather than just a plain Jane coffee dye. Bonus, again, it was one process instead of avocado, eco, and coffee. I'll take it. Saved me a few steps. Yep, some of my papers tore. I'm okay with that. Here's some of the blue puddled. I think it's beautiful. Almost, again, like watercolor. Another paper that I have is this old, it's a yellowy anyway, just lined spiral bound notebook. And some of these lines stayed. This obviously didn't get as wet as the rest of them, and the lines remain. Music. I have an old German folk song book of music. So I pulled several pages out of that and coffee dyed that. I did that across the board, whether I was using food coloring or avocado dye or red cabbage dye or coffee dye. Trying to a variety of papers. So you have lots and lots of things from which to pick. And then again, like I said, I did deli paper. Now this is 2 pages stuck together. Sometimes they come apart nicely, sometimes not so much. But ooh, and does it smell good? Obviously it sounds good, it feels good. The coffee smells wonderful. I love coffee dyeing paper day at the house. It always smells so nice. First couple times I did it, I had French vanilla instant coffee, and ooh, that was yummy. Again, more of the lined paper where it pulled all the blue out of the lines, mixed with the coffee and made this fabulous green effect. I love it. This is great too. When you layer them and they bake for a while, this looks like 3 pieces of paper. The graph paper, the spiral bound, and a loose leaf page. However, it's just 1 page stained, 3-dimensional. This is, I don't know if you can see it, but this is actually, for reals, the spiral bound pieces of the other paper. This is just a print of it. This, you can feel it, and it's stuck there. I'm not even going to try and peel it off because I love it. So I'll never be able to replicate that, sadly, because I don't have any rhyme or reason, but that's the beauty of the serendipity that happens when you do this type of coffee dyeing. And again, I'll put in a few pictures of the process that I did. It's the same that I do for the colored paper video that I did. So anyway, I just wanted to take a few minutes on this beautiful rainy Sunday morning to have a cup of coffee with you, share my cool end products with you, and wish you a beautiful, relaxing Sunday, whether it's raining where you are or not. You have a lovely day. This is my take at the lake, signing out.